Okay, I think we are. I always want to make sure we are truly live, 100% live, not only fake live. It'd be a little bit of a delay here. So I'm gonna, as soon as I see it live, I'll hit the record button and we will be off to the races. So not seeing it there yet, not seeing it there yet. Are we there? Are we there? Are we there? Oh, why is this taking so long? Let's go, let's go, let's go. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Oh, the page isn't loading for me. Great. Let me try that one more time.
Let's cancel everything.
I know, and stop the presses, right? There we go. There we go. We're there. So I'm gonna hit the record button now. All right, so welcome, folks. Welcome back to another one of our sessions. We're calling these Tuesday topics. And this is where a member of our team, a member of our Power ISA staff, jumps in and shares some of those nuggets, some of that knowledge about how to be successful with an ISA, right? The pros, the cons, the do's and don'ts. We've already had a few sessions, been really, really great. We had Chris from our sales team talking about follow-up, how he follows up with those leads, how to follow up for success. I love it. He's a master at that. We had Florencia last week just talking about the interview, right? Tips for the interview, how to have a great interview, and how to select someone and be successful with the process. I love that. And today we've got Mariana. She is with our customer care team, and she also helps onboard our clients, run interview sessions, run through those first 30 days and beyond, right? Helping support our clients. And I think she's a great person because she talks to ISAs and clients every single day, right? ISAs and real estate agents, right? So Mariana, why don't you tell us a little bit about, what have you done here at Power ISA, a little bit about yourself, and what do you do right now, your current role? Go for it.
What have I not done in Power ISA? So actually, Gustavo, I turn 2 years on the 24th. 2 years being in Power ISA.
Just
right?
2 years, really?
Feels
Seems
like
more.
forever. Yeah. So I was I did cold calling for about 3 months as an ISA. I really liked it, enjoyed it very much. I've been a supervisor for ISAs in Power ISA as well. And now I'm in customer care, kind of handling all the interviews, talking to candidates every single day, like you mentioned, and lots of agents. So I really love my job. I love what we do. I think it's super interesting and fun to talk to so many different people all of the time.
I love it. And today, there's this really broad topic, right? If we take a step back, there's this really broad topic that we're trying to approach from, different angles. How can an agent be successful with an ISA? That's like the umbrella topic, right? The umbrella topic. And, we've talked about like the follow-up and the sales. We've talked about the interview process. Now we're talking about something a little bit different, right? But again, it's that overarching question. How can an agent be successful with their ISA? And there's this concept, right? There's this concept of the end of day report, okay? So, that came up when we're talking about what can make someone successful. What are those things you see from really high-performing ISAs and high-performing real estate agents that sets them apart, right? So, Mariana, why don't you tell us a little bit about what do you mean by end of day report? What's that about? And why do you think it is such an important part of seeing success, right? An agent seeing success with their ISA. Go for it.
Of course. So an end of day report, in my opinion, is super important just because of the communication. So it's not just an end of day report. I think it's a broader subject, like you mentioned. Communication is key when you have an ISA, especially at first. You want to know what they were doing all day. You want to know how many people they talked to, what kind of conversations they had, if they were even good conversations to start with. So an end of day report, I think, is really good. There's some specific things that we should have on there, maybe how many dials they made, how many conversations they had, a summary of that conversation, and then obviously summaries with names, numbers, email, so we can contact and do follow-ups later on. So like you mentioned, it's not just an end of day report, it's just communication with your ISA.
I love that topic because, I think it's really important. The communication aspect, can't be overlooked. One of the things that I see, Mariana, when I see people like interact with an ISA, it's a virtual employee, it's a virtual member of your team. Sometimes they want to do things with their virtual teammate that they would do with someone in the office. And sometimes that's fine. That's great. I love that they interact and they have the same rapport and they do that. But there's some things that they want to do that are different than with people in there, and they don't understand there is a difference when someone's virtual than when someone's in the office. There's a difference. One of those things is maybe there's some things about accountability that you can get away with when you're in the same room with someone, okay? That, you know, for example, one great example, screenshot monitor. That's another, I don't want to call it end of day report, but that's another reporting tool. It's an accountability tool, quite frankly, right? It's a time tracking tool. It's something to check in and check out of, but it is an accountability tool. Sometimes our clients don't want to use that. Like, oh, I don't want to be that guy checking people, you know, when they're in, when they're out. I've never done that before. Yeah, of course, because you were in the same room with everyone before. You probably didn't need that, right? At a high level, you probably didn't need it. With someone working for you virtually, it is an accountability measure that we recommend everyone do, right? So the end of day report for me is something like that. It might not be something you've ever done, right? It might be something kind of unique and different, but it's one of those best practices, right? And Mariana, why do you think it is so important? Why is this a best practice? Someone said, you know, yeah, I get it in a day report, like, you know, it's like 2-3 pieces of data. Why is that so important? Why are you guys doing a whole topic on it and trying to drive it home? Why do you think?
I think, like you mentioned, it really is about accountability. So if we have people in the office that sometimes leave and take a 20-minute break while you're in the office, imagine someone that's working from home that has a whole lot more liberty. It's not like we don't trust them, but I just feel like it's better to keep things open, to keep things very honest, and be very straightforward with your ISA from the start. Because like you mentioned, we do have agents that are like, I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to feel like I'm following you around or like I don't trust you. But you don't really know a person when you first hire them. So we want to kind of give them that confidence once you have actually worked for them for a while. So an end of day report kind of eliminates this aspect. You know exactly how many people they called in a day. And actually, so you have all of this at your disposal with CRMs and your dialers. But honestly, who is going to go into their CRM and dialer every single day and monitor how many calls their ISA is making? So if you have this really nice put together kind of Excel format of everything that they did in a day, I feel like that's just so much easier to look at than going to every CRM, especially agents that have various CRMs and dialers. It just makes everything so much
100%.
easier.
You just said it, right? Yeah, you know, a lot of agents, I would say most agents have this information spread out, right? They don't just have, oh, let me just go to the dialer and see how many dials I made. It doesn't necessarily tell you not necessarily telling you the full story. You can argue that if they're just working with the CRM, maybe it is in the CRM, maybe it is, right? That's the best case. That is awesome. I would still ask them to create an end of day report because the CRM tells me one part of the story. Tell me the other part of the story. You mentioned like a summary. How did the day go? What were their conversions like? You see all that in one single place, right? So I think it goes even above and beyond that. But yeah, one of the challenges of being in real estate, and I just had a conversation. This is so funny. I had a conversation about the exact same topic with one of our clients, Calvin, and he said he's changing his tech stack. He'll be in the group at some point talking about all that he did, but he just had a challenge. And his biggest challenge was he has a very large ISA team that we helped him build, right? So he didn't have ISAs before he came to us. Sorry, he didn't successfully have ISAs before he came to us. Now he has a team of ISAs doing cold calling, doing inbound lead conversion. And one of his biggest reasons to change to another system was that the data management was getting crazy, like dialer, CRM, data list, this and that. And it can get very unwieldy very quickly, right?
Yes.
But the end of day report gives you a lot of simplicity. It makes things way more simple, and it puts the responsibility on the ISA to create it, right? Like, yeah, you know, as an agent, yeah, I'm going to go into my CRM and see what they did all week. I mean, sure, maybe you will, right? But make this easy for yourself. Make this easy for yourself. Have your eye, and I'm not saying you should never go into the dialer. You shouldn't do that. We can do that once a week.
Definitely. If you have the time, you need to do it.
You should do it at least once a week to just make sure things are looking exactly how you expect them to. You should always inspect what you expect 100%. But on a daily basis, you should use that report to kind of make things just simpler for you.
And even then, I feel like sometimes agents, it's so easy to kind of let your ISA be. And maybe you can't communicate with them every single day once you're really busy and you have a bunch of appointments. But you know that at the end of the day, you're going to receive this report from your ISA. Your ISA was there, they were working. And it just gives you a lot of, I think, peace of mind. Your ISA is there. They're not just, I don't know, just doing nothing in their home and kind of cashing their check at the end of the day.
Yeah, 100%. And you know, you mentioned a really important term, peace of mind, right? Peace of mind, because I mean, if you're struggling to get an end of day report from your ISA or any other member of your team, to be really honest with
Yeah.
you, that for me is a red flag.
Exactly.
There's an issue there. Like, why wouldn't that just be like the bare minimum, what people call like table stakes? I mean, to even sit at the table and you do that. This is not extraordinary performance. The fact that you sent your end of day report, you took 5 minutes at the end of the day, filled out this 3-line, form, right? And sent an email. That should be like the bare minimum. And I see some agents, they hold themselves back because, like you said, they don't want to be that guy. Oh, I don't want to be that guy. I want to be, overbearing. I don't want to be, asking these things. This is not it. I understand how you can feel that way. People, because they don't want to be like the micromanager. They want to be, doing too much. This is not it though. I understand that feeling, and that's possible. This is not it. This is not it. This is bare minimum when it comes to accountability, right? So Mariana, can you walk us through what a well done end of day reporting, what should it look like, right? Describe it to us, one that's well done, properly accounted for. What would that include?
There should be a graph somewhere in there just detailing. So the basic part should be very specifically dials, contacts, and obviously appointments, live transfers. That's going to be your first base part. And then after that, just a summary of every single contact of a real conversation that they had. This is really helpful, even in identifying patterns. If you see that your ISA a lot of times is receiving the same, the same rebuttal, like market's too high, and you see that consistently for a few days, maybe talk about your ISA. Let's discuss this. What can we find here?
How should we handle that better? So like a summary. So I get the first part seems very straightforward. Dials, contacts, conversions, depending on what kind of call you're making, appointments like transfers, nurtures, qualified seller, whatever it is, right?
Yes.
And then the summary of some of those conversations. Like how did those conversations go, right? The highlights, the highlight reel of the day.
Exactly. If they're having a conversation for more than a minute, then those conversations are important. Why were you on the phone for 2 minutes and you didn't get an appointment, So those summaries are very, very important. Two, in my opinion, to identify patterns. We want to know what's wrong. What can we do to make these conversations longer? What can we do to make these appointments happen? And that's going to have that. You're going to be able to see that in your end of day summary from your ISA.
I got it. So it's a data point that should at least get you asking some questions. For example, right? This is a really straightforward example. What if they're not talking to anybody, right? Like 3 contacts, but it was like they hung up as soon as they heard the script, right? That was the feedback click, right? So if you're consistently seeing that, that's a conversation you should be having. That is okay. Let's listen to see what you're sounding like, right? And if you're not talking to anybody at all, look at that data. I mean, it can happen. You can have some really bad days. But if you're consistently seeing like 0 contacts, not low contacts, not 0 conversions, 0 contacts, that might not have anything to do with the ISA. Might be a data issue, might be a dialer issue. Your number might be tagged as spam. There's all these different reasons that can happen. And your ISA might not know how to fix that, right? That's your job as kind of the leader, as the agent, help unblock them so they can go ahead and do their job. It's almost like our job is to make sure that they're talking to as many people as possible, having as many realistic conversations per day as possible. And anything that's stopping them from doing that, you should go in there and fix it, right? Go in there and fix it and make sure they're having those conversations. But how do you know? I mean, like you said, you might not be in the dialer every day, looking at the dialer results. Get them in the email, get them in the end of day report. That should take you, I'm being generous here, 30 seconds to review. 30 seconds to review your end of day report. Probably, maybe I'm going to go maybe a minute or two, right? Maybe a minute or two. But because I still receive these, right, from my team. I still see what they're doing. It can take you 30 seconds. Once you get into rhythm, you know what they should look like, right? At the beginning, it might take a little bit longer because you're getting used to them. Your ISA is getting used to them. Maybe it'll take you a minute or two at the beginning, but then it should just be part of your day. It's part of your flow. Great. We have these many contacts. We get a couple conversions. That's good. That's solid. This looks positive to me. Let's keep going, right? Because you're going to be calling those people next day, right? The conversions from that day, you're going to be talking to them in an appointment or you're talking to them as a live transfer, or you're going to talk to them the next day as like an appointment or a follow-up, right? They're identifying qualified leads for you to follow up with, And that's so important to understand that you're going to be providing feedback on these too. But the end of day report should be the starting point, right?
Definitely. As a supervisor, I feel like I went through so many reports in a day that I know it definitely does not take more than a few minutes to just, it's so simple to view everything that they're doing. So
And tell me,
definitely something.
when you were, a supervisor, you would manage, here at Power, I say you manage anywhere from 10 up to 20 people, depending on the size of the team at any given time. You did this at a very high level. What would standard, I don't need to do anything, and like an easy end of day report look like? And what would an end of day report that you had to pay more attention to look like? I give people some examples of, oh, this is fine, no issues. And you know what? This deserves some curiosity as to what's going on. Give me some examples of that.
Some weird things, which I really hope no agent ever sees, but I would see reports sometimes where the dial amount was always the same exact number. So let's say maybe an ISA was doing 101 dials every single day. There's something weird there. There's a conversation needs to be had. I need to figure out what's going on here. There's also people
some of the data doesn't make sense. Some of the data
Exactly.
doesn't make sense. There's something weird about the data, right?
Yeah. And then, like you mentioned, there could be maybe they're having 700 dials in a day and no contacts. Something's also wrong here. What
Something's
can we
weird.
do to change this? So things like that are so easy to see and kind of try to figure out when you have a report like that. And there's so many different things that you can say, but I think a perfect report, which just makes me very happy all the time, is seeing a report with lots of conversations. If I see, I don't know, 10 conversations in a day and then a potential follow-up, that's just, wow, these people are doing their work. They're actually there. And that, just like I mentioned, it gives you, as a supervisor, I think I did supervise up to 20 people, and I would see all of these follow-ups and I'm like, okay, this person is good. They're doing what they're supposed to be doing. And then I see other people that maybe are not reaching their potential when I know that they can make more and more dials. And that those are the people that I kind of focus my time on to make them better, to see if maybe we could just needed to move on. So that's why I think very
I
important.
love that. So a lot of really good stuff there. Let me drill down a little bit. And to help folks that are watching us, what do you mean by, let's talk about definitions. When you talk about a follow-up versus like a conversion, like an appointment, a life transfer, a seller nurture, what do you mean by follow-up? And what's the difference between the two? Is that a conversion? Is that not a conversion? Because you mentioned saying, hey, if you say a lot of follow-ups, like this person's doing their job. What do you mean by that? Get more specific.
Follow-ups for me are people that maybe are not interested right now, but they could be in 2 months. Maybe they just need some more information. They're not sure yet, but it could be a potential. And these are the people that are so important that you need to follow up with, because they just need you to kind of talk to them a little bit more and talk them through it, and then they're going to be someone they're going to catch, and they're going to talk to your agent. So those are follow-ups. Those are very good to have in your pipeline. They're your potential. They're your pipe. They're your whole pipeline, basically. So that would be a follow-up for me. And then an appointment, obviously a face-to-face.
I got you. So it's like people they didn't say no. It wasn't someone you discard. It wasn't a hang up. It wasn't a said no. It was a maybe. So
They were a
saying,
maybe.
right? There was
Maybe
something
call me
about,
back in 2
yeah,
months.
call me back at this time. I'm busy. I need more information. Yeah. The easiest thing to do is for them to hang up or say no, right? That's
Exactly.
the easiest thing for them to do. There's something about that lead that got them, okay, that's interested. They're not ready for an appointment yet, which is appropriate. You don't want an ISA setting a bunch of appointments that are unqualified. They're not ready to talk to anybody yet, right? It's a waste everybody's time. They're holding those, right? They're holding some of those leads. They're following up with them. They're nurturing them. And they're going to be conversions in the future.
Exactly. I'm pretty sure Chris talked about this, but follow-ups are just the most important thing. I think when I was cold calling, I called the same person for maybe 6 months. I would call them every 15 days, and we would have long conversations. And at the end of the call, he would always be like, you know what, call me back next month. And that was how he kept me for 6 months. And so I actually got the appointment and they closed the following month.
Cool.
So
that was ready to go. That was just, but again, it's that putting in that work, right? And I think that's where the ISA can add a ton of value, like what you were doing, right? Having that initial conversation, following up with folks, nurturing them, doing the hard part for agents, right? The people that you're just not going to get to. And then once they were ready, once they became a hand raiser, you handed them off to the agent. I think that is the highest and best use of having someone help you with calling, right? It is to identify those hand raisers, those motivated sellers, those motivated buyers, right? And get them in front of the person that can take them to the finish line, which is the agent.
exactly.
I love that. And that's great. So I mean, Mariana, so I mean, the end of the day, I think we'll get it. I think we'll understand about the end of day report. What other things, you know, you have a few minutes left. What other things would you say that you have found that top performing ISAs do, the top performing real estate agents do? Because this accountability question is I've never seen a high performing team that doesn't have these accountability measures in place. Maybe they have the reporting in the CRM. That's great. Like Calvin does. He had everything with his CRM. That's awesome. They utilize these end of day reports, which most people should. Most people should just use this. It's very simple to implement, very easy to implement. It should just be tracking their end of day numbers and that summary on a daily basis. What other things? Let's add on some things. What do you see high performing ISAs and high performing agents do that is different than people that are not having success with this program?
I think I'm going to focus my answer more on ISAs, and I feel like that's what I have more experience with. But ISAs, when I see an ISA that just communicates with their agent, for example, they will text them, "Good morning, how I'm going to start my day," and then even if they don't get a response, they still make sure that they're putting their hand up, like you mentioned, and communicating. At the end of the day, "Hi, this is my end of day report. Have a nice day." Something so basic is just
Yes.
means so
Maybe
much.
over communicating a little bit, right? Maybe
Yes.
I think that is, let's call it that. Over communication a little bit, like being very straightforward, being on it, you know, being active and making it apparent that they're active and communicating these things with the agent, you're saying is a really good sign.
It's so basic, but really those are the best ones that I find. Or someone that they're just I'm gonna give you basics. Punctuality. These should all be very like, of course, but they're not. If someone is not on time, that's a red flag. If someone is not
100%.
communicating, that is a red flag. If someone, like you mentioned, if they can't do a daily report, if it's too much for them, that's a red flag. If they feel uncomfortable with screenshot monitor, that's a red flag. And maybe if they feel like they have all the experience in the world and they don't need coaching, that's a red flag. So I'm not really giving you what every ISA should have, but maybe what sometimes as an agent we kind of let go by. Like maybe let's give them a chance because I think they're very good. Even if they have all of these things, we really shouldn't, because I feel like those are the things that are going to come up later on, and you didn't listen to your to your feeling, your vibe from the start. So I think that kind of means a lot for an ISA to stick around and to actually work with you.
100%. And I think that's really important to call out because a lot of these things, this is what we call the first 30 days in the job is the final part of the interview. The first 30 days are the final part of the interview because a lot of these things, you know, are they on time? Do they have that energy? Are they communicating? Because on the interview, someone can make an amazing impression. They can make the best impression ever. But when they're actually doing the job day to day, when they're actually on the phone, you might see something different, right? And I always believe what they show us. I semi-believe what I'm seeing on the interview. And I always want to see it demonstrated in action. Because you know, Mariana, you shouldn't compromise on this stuff, right?
No.
You shouldn't like, well, you know, they're really good on the phone, you know, and they don't show up a couple times a week. I mean, that's all right. Or they come in late, you know, here and there. That's not a compromise you should make. And that's why we're here. I mean, we're here to advise our clients, right? We're here to point them in the right direction. We're here to help them not make these mistakes, because a lot of times when people go out there and do this on their own, they're going to make these mistakes over and over and over again, and they're going to wonder why this doesn't work for them. And they might even be clueless. I mean, I'm the best boss ever, but no one wants to work. That's like when I hear that, you know, and if someone feels triggered or called out, this is no offense intended.
I was just about to say that, Gustavo. I was going to call out an agent.
Yeah, no, exactly right. No, no offense intended here. This is coming from love, right? I want you to win. When someone says people don't want to work, it always goes to me saying, "Oh goodness." I think, you know, when you're pointing a finger that strongly at someone, like there's three fingers pointing back right at you, right? That's why I like to tell other people. I mean, let's see, right? Let's see, because this you know, phrase, people don't want to work. I go, let's just unpack that, because I think that is patently false, right? That on its face has no value to me. I mean, that means nothing. That phrase says more to me about the person saying it than about whoever they're complaining about. Your system's broken. You probably have zero accountability measures in place. You probably have zero standards in place. And then you get people in there You're right, poorly trained, poorly managed, poorly led, and then they don't want to do what you've told them to do, if you even told them to do it properly, and they get up and leave, or they don't want to continue, and people are shocked, I tell you, that they don't get the outcome that they want. But again, this is why Power ISA exists. This is because this is not easy to do. This is challenging. This is hard to do, right? But adding leverage in this role is valuable for people, right? It's valuable if it's done the right way. So that, I love that communication, that over communication, and to kind of hold firm on those standards, right? This is not a high bar to meet. Showing up on time every day, the first month, right?
Basics.
Doing what you said you were going to do every single day for the first month. This is not hard. This is not the hard part of the job. This is not the challenging part of the job, right? These are, like I said earlier, these are table stakes. This is the bare minimum of what you need to do this job. And if that's not happening within those first 30 days, it's only going to go downhill from there.
Yeah. And I have the perfect example for that, Gustavo. I have this agent who I'm not going to call out, but she is fantastic. She is very nice agent. She's very communicative. She loves to train her ISAs, but she really wanted someone with experience. That's what she needed. That's what I got her. She had 2 great ISAs, lots of experience. They had awesome interviews, but the accountability was not there. They were just not punctual, not communicative, had the worst attitude, didn't want to coach. And I would tell her, maybe we should move on. Maybe this isn't the right person. And she would be like, but they're so good. I'm like, are you going to sacrifice she even felt uncomfortable working with them sometimes. Are you really going to sacrifice this just because you think they're so good? And she would always be like, no, I'm going to give them a chance. And she would always come back and be like, you know what? They didn't work out. Or you know what? They left. Until we finally had this ISA who was so punctual, very communicative. And I'm like, do you see the difference? And she's like, yes, there's so much difference here.
Did that,
No
and did the
experience.
second, did that ISA, there we go. That's the question I want to ask, right? Because for me, I'm not going to say experience is not important. I'm not going to say that. I wouldn't go as far as to say that. But it is one factor. And sometimes it's always concerning to me when agents treat it as the only factor that they will consider. Have they done cold calling for expireds in Chattanooga, right? I go, well, find me someone that's done expired calling. Okay, yeah, but what about everything else, right? What if we find someone like that, but they're not punctual, they're not motivated, they're not on it, they're not bought in, they're not, teachable, coachable. All of those things are important, and you really should. The only thing I'm willing to compromise on all those things is this experience piece, because nothing tells me that it might not be the wrong experience, right?
Or why do they have so much experience? Why are they moving around so much?
Exactly. That's another point. Exactly. 100%. Right. So just because someone's done the job before, I think it comes from, Mariana, I think my gut tells me that again, and I have empathy for the agents. They're always have a lot to do. They're always busy. They feel that it'll save them some time, right? That it's a proxy for experience. It means I don't need to train this person, right? I mean, they've already done this job. Just do what you were doing before and you'll be fine. That is that. And I've been doing this since 2015. You've been doing it for a couple of years now. That has never worked out. Like that, it never works out that way. Oh, this person's trained up. Well, just go and do, right? It's your end. Here's the dialer. Just go do what you were doing before, and then you'll be fine. And I'm going to go be busy during the other thing I was going to do. That is not only an unrealistic expectation. I've never seen it happen. Not one time. Not one time. 15. Actually, look at the numbers. Now we've got over 1,600 clients that we've worked with at this point. I was saying, last year it was 1,200, and earlier this year was 1,500. Now it's 1,600 people we've worked with. That's never happened one time. It's never happened one time. Almost regardless of the experience they've got, right? Almost regardless, there is an onboarding and a training process, regardless of the amount of experience they've got. Because you got to teach them how you want things done on your team. Okay. And sometimes, I'm not lying here, this is true. There you have to unlearn some of the things they learned in their previous job. There's as much about that as there is, oh, you've used follow-up boss before. That's great. That's another one. When they want the ISA to have experience with a specific CRM. Folks, CRM is not the hard part of this job. It's just not. give us a day with them and we'll, and the coach will probably point them in the right direction, right? Give them a couple of videos and they'll figure out how to use Follow Up Boss or Chime or KV4 or Boomtown or Sync, right? They won't become an administrator, like they won't be able to like make a whole new, they probably won't, but they'll be able to find their leads and make their calls, right? Within a day or two. And sometimes people want an ISA with that kind of background. Again, it's the proxy for, I don't have enough time to train. I don't have enough time for this. I don't have enough time for that. If I get someone that's already trained, it'll be good to go, right? That it doesn't really work out that way. It doesn't. It doesn't. Just promise you.
It does not.
I've never seen a successful ISA, successful campaign that didn't put in the work, especially those first 30 days, especially those first 100%.
You're the best example, actually, Gustavo. I use you a lot when agents tell me, but Mariana, how do we find someone like you? How do we find someone like Florencia, Chris Pulido, Alex Ray? And I'm like, let me tell you, we did not come in, me in particular, and Florencia, I know, no experience. I have never worked in a call center before outside of Power ISA. I know Florencia has not either. Chris Pulido, I'm sure that his experience was minimal as well. We do not come in here knowing anything.
Zero experience,
but
zero
we have
sales,
grown.
zero call center.
Yeah, and I feel like you have the best staff team. And that's all because you've invested your time into us. And I feel like that's what all agents need to do. Just invest their time into one quality person and they're going to receive results.
So yeah, and I love you bring that up because this, and you know, again, we're looking at it from different perspectives when I talk to the agents, right? They're like, I wish I had their problem to solve, right? Because you just have to find one really good person, right?
Yeah.
On a daily basis, on a weekly basis, you want to place 15 or 30, you know, quality people, right? It's a different order of problem. Like if I only had one to hire this whole month, like to me, that sounds like the easiest thing ever known to man. But again, I have empathy. It's a new process for them. It's a new experience, but they just have to find one. They just have to find one killer, one great ISA, and it can really change your business. And I appreciate the kind words, Mariana. You know, one of the things that I've done when I've hired and built this team is that I hired it based on those skills, not on, oh, have you done this job before, right? Because for me, it was a given that the answer would be no or almost no, right? Have you called for real? And this is years ago. Maybe nowadays there's more people out there. Maybe there is, right? But 5, 6, 7 years ago when we started this company, almost 8 years ago when we started this company, the answer was always no, right? It was always no, and that was fine because I would rather have people that have the right skill set, mindset, coachable, teachable, right attitude, right energy, right, than someone that has it on their resume that they've called Facebook leads in the past. I can teach you Facebook leads. I didn't teach you anything, right? I had a lot of confidence. I will teach you whatever you need to learn, but I need people willing to learn, right? Like I need people that are going to take that and they're going to run with it, and they have the skill set, the raw skill set. But again, you know, it's not like we don't hire people with experience. We absolutely do. We always look for call center experience, phone experience. I mean, that has its advantages, but it's just one factor. It is not the factor. It is not the factor. It is one factor of many. And of all of the ones we have to evaluate when you hire someone, it is not the one I would give the most weight to. It is not. And you know, and when someone you know tells me, Gus, I found this amazing candidate, but he doesn't have any real estate experience. You found an amazing candidate. End of period in the story, right? Period. That's it. Like right there. They've worked on the phone, they've had success, you love the energy, great connection. You're overthinking this enormously, because that's how I built this company, right? Did we have that great connection? And when he got him in the chair and we evaluated those first 30 days, it matched what I expected. It matched it. Perfect. Not everyone will, but a lot of people will, right? So that's how we built this company. So Mariana, I mean, this is a great one. So I mean, we're about to finish up here. We want to wrap up. What recommendations, let's kind of summarize. What recommendations would you make to an agent to really nail that accountability? Let's bring it all together here.
I feel like I'm just repeating myself.
Yeah.
Communication is key. Really focus on those red flags. Don't kind of just pass everything by.
Don't let it slide.
Don't let it slide. Your daily reports, so important. Patterns, I feel like that's really important. Having conversations with your ISA about what they're doing in a day. Are they actually dialing? What conversations are they having? That's so important. And then at the end of the day, just making sure that your ISA or the ISA that you're going to hire has the right mindset. Like you mentioned, you can teach Facebook leads. You can teach CRMs, but you can't teach a mindset. And that's kind of the key for everything to me.
I love it. I love it. Mariana, thank you so much. It's been a great session. I think we're really going to enjoy this one. So thank you so much. And hey, if you want to, work with Mariana or Florencia or Chris, you know where to find us. Drop a message, check out powerisa.com, and you'll be able to work with these amazing staff. All right. So thanks, everybody. Appreciate you guys.